Dr. Das, are you online?
Yes, sir, I am online.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Please be online for some time. Only 52 students have joined so far. We are waiting for others to come in.
Sir, am I audible to you, sir?
Yes, very clearly you are audible.
Thank you, sir.
Dear students, please write your name and enrollment number in the chat box. Please write your name and enrollment number in the chat box. So this will be considered as your attendance. Good afternoon, dear learners. You're all welcome to today's afternoon session, which is purely based on your BES-124 Block 1. And today we had a class, same subject, same course for Group A learners. Since you are all put in Group B, especially for you, today's or the present class is scheduled, and you'll be very happy to know that today we have in our midst a renowned professor who is teaching in Government Training College, Bhanjanagar, Dr. Gangadhar Das. He is a senior associate professor in Bhanjanagar Training College, Government Training College, Bhanjanagar, and he is very much online. I am very much thankful to Dr. Das. Dr. Das, welcome to the online
Thank you,
classroom.
sir. Namaskar. Thank you, sir.
And we are very happy that you are here and you have accepted our request and coming online to, present on BES-124 Block 1 and 2 both. Of course, these two will be taken up today and they are, today and tomorrow. Uh, all the learners must have gone through the study material as I had, advised all of them to go through the study material before coming to the online class. And they must be knowing that today the presentation will be based on language across the curriculum. How language plays an important role in our curriculum transaction, isn't it? How societal influence is there in our classroom situation. Then for learning, what kind of impact language is putting, isn't it? And of course, there is a threadbare discussion about classroom. What is classroom? What are the different components of classroom? And how to have an effective classroom, how to organize an effective classroom situation, classroom learning. So all these things are there in this particular block, and Dr. Gangadhar Das, who is very much with us, will be presenting each and every aspect presented there in all these four units. There are 4 units in this block, all these 4 units, and let us listen to him. If you have any question, any doubt, you can put up towards the end of the session. This is a 2-hour session, and very briefly he will touch upon, because our study material, our study materials are self-learning materials. Okay, so you can, majority of the things you can understand by yourself. So whatever will be discussed today, it will be a kind of giving a cursory glance. It's a kind of giving a cursory glance on block 1. Of course, we will be taking up all the difficult issues which are bothering you, and will be properly responding to each one of the questions put up by you, either verbally, through microphone or through chat box, isn't it? So, Dr. Das, welcome to this online classroom. Please take over the classroom and start your presentation right away.
Thank you, sir. Director sir, namaskar. Congratulations to all my learners from Anugul, Bhanjanagar, Sundargarh, Raurkela, Fakirpur and Baripada College. All the learners are teachers, and fortunately they are the learners of IGNOU. IGNOU is the most important university in the world, not only in India. There are different countries, they also have IGNOU study centers. So we should feel proud that we are learners of a people's university. There is only one people's university in this world. So thank you all. Congratulations to you all. Today's discussion is on language across the curriculum. This is a new idea, a new subject of this B.Ed course. We know that the teacher's role is to develop the learner, to develop the child. We have discussed everything in our previous discussions through different blogs by different educationists. We know that the four walls of a classroom is enough to build the nation. So it is the importance of the student to develop. So our duty is to develop the nation. What we do in a school, or what is your performance in a school, or whatever we do for the student, for the learner. The thing is that we have a curriculum and we have different subjects in different classes. We are all teachers from class 1 to class 8 perhaps. Those who are learners today, we know that our duty is to develop the learner through our course of study. And it is the course of study that we deal with, and there are different periods. We take classes. There are two types of activities, curricular and co-curricular activities. Curricular activities include academic performance, and at last there is an examination. So the thing is that our point of discussion is that the teacher has to develop the learner and through the curriculum. So curriculum is important. So how can the curriculum be transacted by the teacher? It is the language only. We have books for the learners. We have duties to explain different theories of different topics in the classroom. That is the main purpose, the main aim of our education. We see that before it is learning is a planned activity. Before you enter the classroom, we have a definite plan and what we can teach, what we will ask the student, what we would write on the blackboard, what teaching aids we have to show, and how to explain. Everything is pre-decided, pre-planned, and that is a lesson plan. So our point is education to solve the problems of the nation, to develop the child. We have to proceed with our classroom transactions, and there language is most important. It is the language through which we can proceed in the classroom. So in one word we can say students develop needs, and it is the language through which students develop can be satisfied. So it is not the language teacher only. Suppose there are different language teachers in different schools. It is not only language teacher who can go through the curriculum. It is only the subject teacher, whether it is mathematics, it is social science or science. It is the subject teacher who has the responsibility of developing language abilities of the learners. So language across the curriculum means language, teaching of language and developing language skills of the learner through different subjects. That means all the teachers in the school, they have responsibility to develop the learner, and we know that if a student can develop, suppose one is going to write his answers, one is going to explain what he or she has understood in the classroom. How can he explain? How can she explain? It is only through language. So unless language is developed, she or he cannot explain whatever he or she has learned. So to go through the books prescribed by the different agencies, by the school, it is the teacher. It is the responsibility of the teacher. It is the duty of the teacher. Teacher has to develop the language ability of the learners. Here we have got two blocks, block 1 and block 2. In block 1, we have language and society, the 4 units, language and society. Then language and learning, unit 2, language unit. In unit 3, we have to discuss understanding language across the curriculum, and in the last unit of this block, the classroom as a space for discourse. So in this block, we have to discuss regarding these 4 aspects. Then in the last block, block 2, we have to discuss different things tomorrow. So our point is how language and society are interconnected, how they are related, how the development of the society depends upon language, how language develops in the society, and then learning and language. Learning is the main purpose of our school, for every institution, for every teacher. Learning is important. Because of learning, students come here to our schools. So we should see that how language and learning are interrelated, and how learning can be satisfied, learning can be achieved by the learner to the maximum extent by means of proper language, proper development of proper language. How we all the teachers we can help for this. We know in the previous classes, director sir has already described, he has explained that education is not only means to have our livelihood, it is a profession, it is not a vocation only. So we should see how to develop our profession. We should learn this act of developing language of the learners. In the 3rd unit, we should discuss. We can have discussion on understanding language across the curriculum. Then in the last chapter, classroom as a space for discussion. You see, learners, we should see that students have a poor performance because of they are unable to understand what is said to them in the classroom. So what they have read and express in the classroom, what they have written in the exams, they do not know because of lack of proper understanding of the language. So here it is the language that the students should understand. We should see, we should have affection to the students. We should see whether they develop their languages so far as their textbook is concerned. Then in these fields they can develop, they can read well, they can write well, they can perform very well in the examinations. So also they can be good citizens in the society. So the thing is that, again I repeat it, that not only the subject teacher but also all the teachers, they are responsible. They have their duty, and they do have their responsibility to see that language is an important factor for the development, academic development, social development of the learner. Here you see that language and thinking are deeply connected, and that language promotes learning. What the learner thinks, what the learner has in his mind, it is deeply connected with language, and that promotes learning. The process of learning takes place when new facts are assimilated through listening and talking, reading and writing, without what is being learned, and by relating the new learning what has been learned before or the previous knowledge. That means before starting a class, we test the previous knowledge of the learner. So here we should see that whether the student has received whatever is taught in the previous class, whether he is able to read and write, and he is able to listen properly. Tomorrow we will discuss about these 4 skills. Here the thing is that speaking and writing, thinking, what we write and speak is a manifestation of what we are thinking. To give an example, if a student is asked to prepare a project report in science or history or civics or geography, he or she will plan and structure the report and use both language competencies and subject-specific ways of perfection, observation, conceptualization, and finally, communicate the same to an audience of peers and teachers. So, it is the teacher who can promote all these aspects. This is like that when one is writing observations, opinions, insights, and experiences in science or history or in any other subject, not only the content has to be accurate and appropriate, but also the language chosen has to be appropriate and communicatively efficient. So, in each and every project work, we provide project works to the learner. They should prepare the projects themselves, not by their parents. Here we should see that all these projects are important and they can be the projects can be successful if proper language is communicated there. So appropriate and a communicatively efficient language is used there. The task of a teacher is that of developing language abilities into subject-specific thinking and a communication in each and every subject. Teachers need to build cognitive and communicative competencies in learners while teaching their specific subjects. What teachers need to know about the subject matter they teach extends beyond the specific topics of their curriculum. For example, while English teachers need to know about particular authors and their books, about literary genres and styles, they also need to know about interpretation and criticism. A history teacher needs content knowledge, but must also understand what history is, the nature of historical knowledge, and what it means to find out or know something about the past. That means whether we are teaching history or whether we are teaching geography, we should have content knowledge. So far as language concerned, different subjects, they have different language abilities. So language is important so far as the discipline or subject is concerned. A similar understanding of other disciplines is important to build language abilities, and subject-specific thinking is that academic subjects vary in. Academic subjects, our subjects in the school, they vary in their vocabulary and expression, the types of text, suppose essays, reports, summaries, etc. Texts are structured and organized. Language across the curriculum advocates an understanding and a transaction of the curriculum based on the following premises. Language is more than communication skills. Language is also linked to the thinking process. Language is a tool for conceptualizing, for thinking, for networking. Language supports mental activity and cognitive precision. Language for academic purposes helps to express thoughts more clearly. This is especially true for writing. In writing, we can see that students what they think, they can express it clearly if they have proper language developed by the teacher. So it is the responsibility of the teacher to practice all these language skills. Language helps to structure discourse and practice discourse functions. In this course, we have to sensitize the teachers to the linkages between language and learning and to motivate them to adapt such practices in teaching of their specific disciplines. So far as students, language becomes a tool for facilitating learning. So it is the teacher who should see to facilitate the learner to develop the language. Here in this book, we have we can see the book is in SIM mode, SIM, self-instruction materials. In IGNOU, we have distance education. We are in the mode of distance education. So here we are provided now, soft copies are provided. Very soon after the lockout is over, lockdown is over, hard copies will be given to the students, supplied to the students. This is in the form of a SIM, self-instructional materials. You see, every book is having some units, and first of all, some blocks. Here we have 2 blocks in language accuracy curriculum. In other subjects, there are 4 blocks. In each and every block, there are some units, and this is written in such a manner by the experts of the nation, of our country, the top educationist of India. The SIMs are written in such a manner that when reading these SIMs, SIMs or self-instructional material, that we call self-learning materials. When we go through these books, we can feel that the teacher is with us, beside us, sitting as if he's sitting beside us and telling us regarding theories. And there are there are some questions asked at the end. You can see that let us sum up, keywords are mentioned, suggested reading is mentioned, and at last you see there are at the end of the blog there are some questions to be practiced by the learner, that the learner can answer the questions, and he himself can progress by checking the answers. Answers are also given at the end. That is, let us sum up. So in this book, we can see that everything is discussed clearly. We have to go through the book. I may advise you. I am not a teacher. I am the counselor. I may advise you. I am one among them, one among yourselves. I can say you one thing, that you should go through the soft copy of the book when you get time. You should wholeheartedly go through the book and try to understand what is given, what are the objectives of the courses, what are the objectives that is mentioned in the first page. Then we should see how to achieve these objectives. Every education is a purposeful activity. It is a planned activity. We should, as a teacher, we should plan the activities properly. First of all, we should see that what is the objective of the course, and accordingly we should prepare. You see that in Unit 1, we can see that there is a deep relationship between language and curriculum. Language is not static, but it varies. It is subject to variation. This variation is due to some social factor, maybe geographical factor. Maybe in India we have geographical factors. There are different geographical regions in our country, locations in our country, so that language also differ. Socio-economic status, we can see that we are having a developing country, and we have much socio-economic difference in socio-economic status. So we can see that language differs in our country because of socio-economic status. So also caste is a factor here. Of course, caste problem is being diminished day by day, but due to caste, there is also differentiation in language development, ethnic group, and so on. There are some personal factors like sex and age. So also there are different types of variations. Content of a situation, such as the topic of the conversation, relationship between participants, and mode of communication. This also affect our language. So here we can see that language is language is the main factor for our development. We should see these factors, and we should see in our classroom situation, we should see what are the factors affecting the language of our learner. That is the practical aspect of this course. To recognize different individuals by their distinct speech and language patterns, that is idiolect, and indeed this is a fundamental feature of self-identity. We can understand the learner from his idiolect, his language. However, beyond the individual differences, the language of a group of people may show regular variations from that used by the other groups of speakers of the same language. For example, there are Hindi spoken people in different areas of our country, Odia speaking people in Orissa, in different parts of Orissa, but our language differ. That is what we call dialectical difference. Sambalpur, if you go to Sambalpur, you can see that the language is Odia, but they have a different dialect. When we are in Ganjam, we can see that here language is different, but we speak here Oriya, the classroom, the teacher, for everybody. In the market, wherever you go, we can see that there is a dialectical difference. But the thing is that whether it is class, caste, ethnic group, anything may be regional factors. The linguistic difference could be due to personal social factors, maybe sex and age. In the classroom, you can find also boys are there, girls are there. We should understand the dialectical difference, but here we can discuss. We have to discuss regarding the books, the textbooks of the students. That is not in a dialectical manner, that is standardized manner, standard dialect. So we shall come to this discussion. There is also regional variation in different regions. We serve in different regions as a teacher. We have to see the regional variation, how we discuss different words, we speak different words in a language, in one language. So there is a regional variations in different regions of our country, even in our state. Even in one district, we see that there are regional variation in speaking any language. So maybe caste dialects, there are different local language because of caste variation. This is about dialect. But one thing important is that they are just standard.
Dr. Das, Dr. Das, it will be better if you can simply touch upon the important, presentations made in different units.
Thank you, sir. I am
just go through the block and touch upon the important things which are presented there. Otherwise, you cannot cover the time.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So the point is that standard dialect, we have to see that standard dialect is used in our textbooks in the class. So we should give importance on standard dialects. So what is the standard dialects? Standard dialects are the language that we used in our classroom in a state. So the thing is that standard dialect we use in classrooms. So also our thing is that this variability is due to different factors, maybe sex factors, whether boys or girls. Everything is discussed in our sim. Due to age, the youngsters, they use different types of language, but when they grow up at the latter ages, their language is defined. That is a factor. Because of age factor, language is differentiated, and then come to variation due to register. So this is important to understand what is register. Register here, now we can see that this is we feel that we discuss in the classroom, that is in academic register, but that is a sort of communication, and in the medical, when there are doctors, they use different register. The business people in their advertisements, this can be clearly seen in newspapers. You see that different articles are there, different advertisements are there, different types of structures are there. So when we see different types of registers, they are according to variation, language variation. But one thing we should mind, be in our mind, that registers are standardized in the classroom. We use standardized register. Everyday in everyday register, we are using language in the family, but in academic register, we see that it is quite formal. In family or everyday register, it is informal. Ways of speaking differently are called registers of language. It may be oral or written. So there are differences between academic language and everyday language because of formality and informality. So in this unit, I am going to sum up the unit 1. In this unit, we can see that there are different types of words: dialect, idiolect, language variation, tourist, register, register variation, social dialect, and standard variety or standard dialect. We use a standard variety in our dictionaries, grammars taught in schools and university. So this is important that we use different types of dialects, but standard variety is used in our school. We should develop, try to develop by each and every teacher for different subjects. We should try to develop the standard dialect of the learner. Now, whether it is Odia or it is Tamil or Hindi or Telugu or English, whatever may be the language, all languages are important for the learner. Whatever may be the language, we should, who is the teacher there, they should see, they should not leave it onto only the subject teacher. It is not the language teacher only. All the teachers, they should see how to develop language of the learner, that is the standard language, standard variety or standard dialect of the learner. Then let us come to what is the relationship between language and learning. Learning is the main purpose of our school. We should see that students must learn. It is the school, students have to learn. They come for this purpose. The family, the state, our nation, depends on our school for the learning of the students. So here we should see it is the responsibility of the teacher. We should see how to bring up the child, how to bring out the all-round development of the child. Here, language is the basic factor that can develop and by the teacher so that he can have better academic transactions. So learning and teaching are interrelated, and here we see that first of all, language learning is started by mother tongue. By mother language starts, then second language in the school. There are also other languages we learn, but standard language, standardized language is developed by the school, by the teacher. So language is important for our learning. Here we see that we need proficiency in language so that we can have the development of different subjects, in different subjects. Suppose mathematics, history, or geography, or any other subject. The difference between skill subjects and content subjects. There are some skill subjects like drawing, like yoga, like ICT, information and communication technology, and there are some content subjects like geography, history, or like that. So these subjects, they differ in so far as the language, grammar, and their content is concerned. So the teacher should try to understand academic development of the learner through language. Language learning from the mother tongue to other tongue. Mother tongue is important, and role of mother tongue to form the concept of the child. First of all, the child learns through mother tongue. So it is important that through mother tongue the child can be taught easily. Then there is a question of free language formula. So far as the recommendations of the Education Commission 1964-66, so far as the recommendations of National Curriculum Framework, school is having second language English, and the third language may be Hindi or Sanskrit in most of the schools. So it is the language through which the child can develop. Here there are different skills to be transferred through mother tongue. Then translanguaging. It is a relatively new term for an old age practice, that of switching between the languages one knows in order to maximize the communicative potential. Translanguaging is flexible multilingualism. So here one child, when comes to school, he learns the second language more than 2 or 3 like this. This child in also schools, we see that students learn more than 2 languages. The teacher should have knowledge about these languages, so that it will be easier for teachers to make the child understand. Multi-language in the classroom situation is important. So the teacher can involve in translating between languages, comparing and being playful with the different languages, maximize words and expressions from different languages in the same spoken or utterance, using the home language in one part of the activity and the school language in another part. So here we should see that one is the home language of the learner, and school language is what we see in the textbook, or that is academic register. That language, the teacher should give importance for the development of the learner. It is required by the teacher to understand the home language of the learner. In different parts of our state, particularly Odisha, we see that language teachers are required. Those who have a proficiency in local language or the home language of the learners. If not, then the students, they fail to understand their subjects and to perform better in their examinations. In other words, there are some dialects the teacher should know. In a nutshell, you can say that teacher should be multilingual, so that he can describe the facts in a better manner. Language important for learning. Evidence from research. Researchers have found out that there are different types of researches which put forth that it is evident that language is very much important for learning. In the classroom, we experience that language is important. Language and learning, the responsibility of the subject teacher. Here we see that subject teacher should see that whether the learning through listening and reading is practiced or not, learning through speaking and writing, language focused out learning through deliberate attention and language features, and fluently develop learning through working with the known materials across the 4 skills as a higher than usual level of performance. We see that how can subject teachers scaffold language learning. Here we see that scaffolding is necessary for the teacher to promote language learning. Here we see that the teacher should see developing students' competence and skill required for comprehending, identifying, selecting, and integrating information. Focus on subject-specific vocabulary. There are different types of vocabulary. There is a difference in vocabulary in geography, in history, in science. Each and every subject has different types of vocabulary. Here, the role of the teacher, subject teacher, is to develop that vocabulary. Highest, highlight the underlying conceptual framework. The subjects contain some concepts, so the teacher through concept mapping could see the development of the learners. Then analyzing subject specific word formation. The teacher should see that there are different suffixes, prefixes in different subjects used in different subjects. So the teacher should see how these words are understood by the learner. Develop an ability to focus on the structure of tests. There are different structures of tests. The teacher should see how it can be developed. So it is the teacher who has the responsibility to develop the learner through different subjects. Complementary of language skills and subject knowledge of teachers. Here we see that teachers should generate open questions and extend their students' thinking through focused discussion and through partner and group discussion. Here one should see that subject teachers should focus on language development of language skills. They should see that there are group discussions, there are debates, discussions, group discussions for promoting and encouraging learning in the minds of students. So they can promote cooperation among students, encourage active learning, and provide prompt feedback by organizing these activities. Here we can see that feedback is necessary when we are organizing one activity. After the activity is completed, we can give or provide feedback to the learners. Suppose we have given a student or a group of students or all the students a task. After they have completed the task, we should see that the teacher should see that how far the students have proceeded. Then he can analyze their activities and give feedback so that they can develop. Then come to the third unit, understanding language across the curriculum. Here we see the teacher should appreciate that learning language is the foundation of learning. Teacher should feel that language is essential for learning, and understand that particular kinds of activity requires particular kinds of language, and language reflects the activity. The nature and the nature of an activity can be determined by the style of language used. The teacher, these are the objectives, and the teacher should see to fulfill the objectives. The teacher should develop language skills in the students. How language varies, everyday registers and academic registers. We have just discussed regarding this matter that language varies so far as register is concerned. In everyday life, we are using formal language, but in academic register and in so far as subjects are concerned, different subjects, they contain different types of registers. Particularly, all the subjects they contain standard register, but all the differs so far as the topics is concerned, content are concerned, they differ in their languages. So the teachers should develop in the minds of the learners to learn biology, to learn history, to learn geography, to do better in mathematics, all like that. It is the teacher, he should make, the teachers should see how the students can develop their languages, that is standard language, so that they can do better in the examinations. Here we see that oral and written registers are there. Different language features to registers are not arbitrary. Some individuals use different registers in different situations. According to situation, we do have different registers, but teachers use academic registers so far as the classroom is concerned. So the teacher should see that academic language is the oral and written language, whether it is visual, auditory, listening, etc. That student need in order to understand. First of all, the student should listen properly and understand whatever is taught by the teacher, and there should be interaction between the teacher and the student, so that in terms of proper language, that is standardized language, the teacher can communicate to the learners. Learner can give answers, speak in the correct form. Per form, they can read, write, listen, speak, solve problems properly. The academic language is necessary to participate in content, to think, question, talk, and learn. Students should be encouraged to think properly and to learn in the right manner and to talk. They should be encouraged. What happens in a classroom? We give importance generally. We give importance to a particular group of students. Suppose one is standing fast in the class, just we are asking questions. One is not doing well, we neglect them. This happens some in almost all cases. But we should see that we should give importance. That is called random. We should ask questions randomly. We should encourage the learners to develop the learning ability through language learning. So, academic language is very much important for the teacher in the classroom. Here we see that the vocabulary of the learner, the syntax of the learner, everything is important so far as the development of the learner is concerned. So, here we can discuss that academic language proficiency is acquired over a long period of time. Research studies suggest that academic language is best learned through meaningful input, focus on content, and a language dual focus simultaneously. And practice is in the use of language and by drawing students' attention to linguistic forms and the language functions. So here what happens, we the teachers should see that focus is on content and the language, whether it is the written material or the student is speaking or delivering his or her thoughts in the classroom. That is expression. In each and every aspect we should see that has the ability to by the use of language. Language is the foundation of learning. You see, you cannot develop. That is described here.
Dr. Das, your speaker is mute.
Sir, am I audible?
Okay. Sir? Yes, you're audible. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. So here, language is the foundation of learning. We see in a school setup, we are the teachers and the students. We should see that without language, the student cannot learn properly. So we should see the language development of the learner. Each and every subject teacher, the language teacher also, all should see that language is developed so that the learner can develop. Now, here we can see that language is the foundation of learning. First of all, there is a basic literacy skills such as decoding and knowledge of high frequency words that underlie virtually or reading task. Then intermediate literacy, then disciplinary literacy. Disciplinary literacy means literacy skills specialized to history, science, mathematics, literature, or other such manner. That means gradually the learner is developed. We should see how in these stages the child develops properly. It is the responsibility of the teacher to see the language development in the classroom. Activities to develop language across the curriculum. First of all, we should provide rich and varied language experiences. The teachers should provide rich and varied activities to learners, not simply taking a class or simply just finishing the course or completion of course is not at all required by the teacher. It is a profession. It is not at all a vocation. So the teachers have the responsibility to come across many new words. The teachers should encourage the students to use dictionary, to have today's we see students, they purchase, first of all they purchase e-books or guidebooks, and even if students they don't use textbooks, here the teacher should encourage them to have language experiences. They should go through the textbooks, they should go through the newspapers regularly, they should read the magazines and different types of novels according to their age. There are libraries in the schools also. There are also nowadays we can see, we can take the help of e-libraries. So according to age and class of the learners, we can encourage, the teachers should encourage the students how to provide rich and varied language experiences. Then teaching individual words. The teachers should have give the opportunity for a role play, text enactment, discussion, etc. That can be created in the classroom to support word building, reading, and comprehension of different subjects like history, political science, geography, etc. So these activities should be organized by the teacher. Just simply running to finish the course is not important. Then foster word consciousness. The teacher should promote word play and teaching students about words. Teachers can build a framework for fostering word consciousness. In which subject, what are the keywords, and how to use the different types of words in their writing, in their speaking, in different areas of their studies. The teacher should to train them. Then how to use morphemes, that is prefixes, roots, and suffixes. That should be taught by the teacher. There are examples from of common prefixes and suffixes, numeric prefixes, etc. Then there are lesson plans. So the students can have a brainstorming. They can act themselves as per the questioning provided by the teacher. Perhaps there is a question, we may discuss it tomorrow. Assignment is one part of our studies. In distance mode, we have seen self-instructional material, then counseling classes now going on in distance mode, and assignment. The learners, they answer the questions given to them in form of assignments, and then at the end they have workshops. So also they have to sit at the examination, that is terminal examination. So here we see that there is a question on how to have a lesson plan. So please, here I can advise you to come through your books where you are teaching, whether it is class 5 or class 6 or class 8 or class 10, or whatever, what methods you have taken, whether it is mathematics or English, science, or history, social studies, geography, like that. You should choose books, and you should go through the book, have the lesson plan, follow the lesson plan, and prepare a lesson plan for assignment. Wherever there is a difficulty, there are counselors to provide you feedback if you have answered, or they can guide you through this distance mode. And the last unit, let us come to the last unit, unit 4, classroom as a space for discuss. Here there is a description on classroom interaction, classroom discussion or discourse, features of a classroom discourse, negotiated interaction, classroom interaction competence, that is CIC. The main objective of this last unit is to explain classroom interaction, its aspects and types, critique the initiation response feedback, that is IRF, exchange structure, discuss how we can promote meaningful interaction in our classrooms, enumerate a few techniques for promoting negotiated interaction, manage classroom discourse efficiently to promote learning, and develop classroom interaction competition. Here you see that learning takes place in the classroom through interaction. Interaction means what we do generally in a classroom. We enter the classroom, we have the process of study, we have planned properly before coming to the classroom, and that is pre-planned. Education is a planned activity, not an ordinary activity. It is a national activity. The classroom, in the classroom, we should see that we should teach the learners properly so that they can grasp the new ideas, what we have taught the learners. So this goes on through the manner of interaction between the teacher and the learner. Teacher, what he does, he puts forth the ideas before the learner. There are different plans, there are different methods for science, and there is method, different method for mathematics, and different method is different. So for general science or for English or MIL, ODIA language subject, method teaching is different. In the workshop, we will be trained regarding how to have micro teaching, how to have a lesson plan, how to frame questions, etc. So here we should see that teachers should spend time for interaction so that the learners can develop. What we do in the classroom, generally what happens, the teachers goes and describing some facts. You see that learning is a planned activity. According to lesson plan, we teach the students. There are different steps, whether it is a 5E model or traditional model. According to the model we have planned, we come to discuss with the learners. So interaction is important. Here interaction takes place between the teacher and the learners. So also among the learners. In 5E group, 5E model, you can see you will be trained in that manner, that students interact among themselves. Different groups are formed. Then students they come forward to the classroom. They explain what they have, they understand what they have been taught from the subject matter, like mathematics or history or like that. So it is the teacher who has to see the interaction of the learner. The students, they can sit there at their homes alone, they can learn, but there can be no interaction. Now I can give you an example that here I have to interact with you, the learners. Here the director is there, and whatever we interact, that whether you ask questions, we answer the questions in different ways. Interaction goes on here in also distance education manner, distance learning matter. But in the classroom, we have direct interaction with the learners, and that has a great impact on the learner. Teachers should not neglect this interaction. And again, I repeat that in the interaction section, all the learners should be given importance. We should have love and affection for the learners, and we should see that no child is neglected. Each and every child should participate in our interaction program. So here our objective should be to discuss how to promote meaningful interaction in our classrooms, and enumerate the techniques for promoting negotiated interaction, manage classrooms discourse effectively, and develop classroom interaction competence. So without interaction, classrooms cannot be successful. The success of a teacher is required so far as the profession is concerned. We cannot be satisfied unless our class is successful. So at the end of the class, we can do nothing. But before the class, we should plan in such a manner that the classroom can be successful through interaction. Accordingly, we should have the lesson plan. So here, how to have a classroom interaction, we can discuss. There are study materials. We should see we have different types of study materials, and before coming to the class, we have aims of teaching. There are two types of aims, whether it is a specific aim or general aims. That will be discussed in detail in our workshop when we will be discussing on different subject methods, teaching different methods of teaching different subjects. And here we can see that we have aims of education, aims of teaching a different a topic in a classroom in a period. So we should prepare to react to each other in the classroom, which is most importance for having importance for our classroom. So to react here is important. So here we should see that who gets to speak, participants, turn distribution, the learner, what do they talk about, the curriculum, the subject matter they talk about, what does each participant do with the various opportunity to speak, how the learner behaves, that is called behavior, whether the learner is answering properly or not, what sort of answer is created, that is the classroom climate. We should see these aspects in the classroom, and what accent, dialect or language is used. That is quote. What is the standard dialect is using? There it is the responsibility of the teacher in interaction to see that the learner uses words properly. The teacher should correct the orders, the code of the language in different subjects by their friends, their peer group, their friends, or then himself. The teacher should see how to develop the language of the learner. Then classroom discourse. Here, the teacher plays an important role in understanding, establishing, and maintaining patterns of communication that foster to the greatest extent both classroom learning and second language acquisition. Therefore, classroom discourse needs to be understood to promote learning in the classroom. So, first, let us come to discuss and understand the typical structure of a classroom discourse. We have all been part of various classrooms as learners of teachers. We show that we are in the classroom and it is our responsibility, it is our duty, regular duty to enter the classroom and we face the learners. So, learner takes cues from the teacher to whom they direct most of their responses. In a second language classroom, the teacher, in a second language classroom, the teacher is often considered to be the main point of reference, and he controls most of the patterns of communication primarily through the ways in which the teacher restricts or allow learners interaction, take control of the topic and facilitate or hinder learning opportunities. Here it is important that the classroom is to be managed by the learner, so also by the teacher. The students should be encouraged to participate in the discussion, and the teacher should not make hindrances for learning, providing learning opportunities. That we can say that the teacher should encourage the students, not restrict the learners for interaction. So, the underlying structure of second language classroom typically represent sequences of discourse, move that where I is the teacher initiation, IR and EF. R is the learner response, and EF is an optional evaluation of feedback by the teacher. This is a research report. So this is called IRF model. This is a research report. Here we see that the IRF interaction which prevails in the most classroom is important. How teacher and student they interact with each other in the classroom, it is described here. Teachers control, you see, L2 means second language. In the L2 classroom, teachers control both the content and the procedure of the learning process. L2 classes exhibit some typical characteristics. Teachers control the topic of the discussion. Teachers control who may participate, and when students take their cues from teachers. Role relationship between teacher and learner are unequal. Teachers are responsible for managing the interaction which occurs. Teachers talk more. And here we see that in a second language classroom, the teachers they dominate the classroom discussions. They are arbitrary in managing the class. Here it is the discussion that there should be a cordial relationship between the teacher and the student. The teacher should see that students develop properly. Students should understand, they should participate in the discussion, and particularly when there is a language class, suppose it is English class or Odia class, according to the lesson plan, the students they should be regulated. Lesson plan should be followed so that the teacher cannot be arbitrary, or the teacher cannot control the topic of the discussion. There are different steps where the students can develop themselves, their abilities, they can exploit their abilities. Here there are some given some examples in your scene. Features of classroom discussion. There are different techniques by which the teacher gets the learner to give information rather than giving it to them. For example, a teacher elicits the rules for the structure of the first conditional by asking learners to look at some examples, then writing. We make the first conditional in English with on the board. In the classroom, elicitation is an important technique for various responses. So the teacher should try to have elicitation. Here there are some display questions. The teacher should see that the display questions are asked to the to students, like when was Mahatma Gandhi born? Is this a chair or a table? Like this, display questions do not normally generate new information. They deemed little thinking, and they require little thinking. However, in the initial stage, these can be used. Then referential questions can be questioned. Referential questions are genuine questions, demand real answers. They often require thought and effort. Such a question may ask the student to infer a meaning to evaluate a statement or to separate fact from fiction. For example, how is swimming more or less satisfying exercise than jogging? The students here they think over and compare whether swimming or jogging is more satisfying. In what ways do dogs make easier pets than monkeys? These are the questions that the students, the learner, they will be compelled to think over it and answer. These questions seek real answers. They demand an explanation, often generate new thinking, and can elicit individual answers. The individual students, they will differ in their answers. They will put forth their views before the teacher in the classroom. So by this process, there can be discussion, there can be interaction in the classroom among the students, so also in between the student and the teacher. Then displays versus referential questions. These are the questions the teacher should use. Reference questions are more likely to produce natural responses than display questions. Traditionally, display questions to which the teacher already knows the answer. For example, what's the past tense to go, of go? Normally the student will ask went like that, are seen as being functionally different from referential questions, where the answer is not known in advance. For example, do you have any brother and sisters? This is the examples. So why this is described here? The teacher should ask different types of questions for interaction. These teachers should not be mild. The teachers should not be autocratic in nature. The teacher should involve the students in these sorts of questions, and he should try to provide some cues. Cues means hints. By providing some hints to the learners, and particularly the learners who are unable to answer or who avoid to provide answers, give answers in the classroom, those who are particularly introvert in nature, they should be encouraged to ask questions, ask answers, reply to the answer of the students. For example, the student is asked one question, the student answers the question, the next student or any other student may be asked to question in the same manner or put forth a different type of question, so that the interaction will go on in between the learners, among the learners, and in between the teacher and the student. Then closed question. A closed question has a single or correct answer. You see, learners, we have different types of questions provided in the exam. There are some multiple choice questions. Only single, there's only single answer. So here closed, the student can be questioned in the closed manner. The students have to think over it and write the correct answer. In also competitive examinations in future, they will face this type of questions. In some cases, there is minus marking. So also there are questions. It may be difficult on the part of the learner to answer in between two equal answers. One is only correct. So the students should be encouraged to develop these qualities, and the students should see that participation is important in the classroom. They should not neglect to participate in the classroom when question session is going on. In different stages of a lesson plan also, there are questioning both in traditional method, so also in 5E method. There are scopes for interaction in the classroom. The students should see that he participates, and the teacher should see that enough scope is given to each and every learner to participate in the program. And here one thing can be explained, that the students can be encouraged. There are different types. There is individual difference in the classroom. There are different types of students. Someone is slow learner. Someone is highly brilliant, that is gifted. So far as the IQ is concerned, already we know about that. Here, my point is that teachers should see that individual difference is taken care of, and accordingly, questions should be asked to the learners. So also, cues should be provided to the learners. The teacher should see that each and every child participates, each and every learner participates in the learning program, teaching learning program, and so that it will bring out success of the classroom. So there are different types of questions are being asked by the teacher. Open-ended question. Open-ended question allows for opinion as it has more than one correct answer. For example, all banks in the city provide the same quality service. Discuss. Here see, open-ended question should be asked to the learners. Here there is a provision to discuss in the classroom whether the teacher can advise the students or give a home task to the learners to answer, to write answers, so that speaking and writing in this manner they can develop in the classroom. So reading ability, in the answer may be read by someone else, what he or she has written. In this way, the students they can give additional or feedback to the learners, and at last the teacher can give feedback to the answer. So here we see that open-ended answers are long type questions or short type questions. The students, they vary in their answers, and these type of questions, thought-provoking questions, should be provided to the learner. What happens nowadays, the students are generally, it happens in some schools, the teacher does not give importance to the learners, and what happens, students they write down from different guidebooks or key books, or from they collect the answer from the internet, maybe. So the interaction is not proper. The answer of the students, the purpose of eliciting answers from the student is not satisfied. My point is that students should be encouraged to think over the problem, discuss over the problem, write down or speak something on the subject matter or on the question. The teacher should give importance on these aspects properly. Factual questions. These questions help to determine if students know some required facts or information. They may not normally call for reflection on events, attitude, or beliefs. For example, how is Chennai from the, this is in your SIM, self-instructional material in your block. These examples are given. And so here we can see that the above classification of questions clearly show that these question type may overlap. Therefore, while classifying a question, we may have to use multiple terms. A display question should also be factual or close-ended. A referential question can also be open-ended. So while choosing questions, we should see to overlap the questions so that students can be provided all types of questions and think over the questions. Another classification of types of questions was proposed by Benjamin Bloom. He divided the questions into 6 types and defined each of them as follows. Knowledge questions that ask students to get information given in their book or in another source of knowledge. For example, what is the Gir forest? That is a knowledge question. Whether the students they have developed their knowledge from the reading from the book or from any other source. Comprehension questions that ask for understanding. Example, what does the author mean by surrender value? These are the examples given here, but we see that we should provide examples from our school curriculum, what we are teaching, what curriculum we are following in our own classrooms. Generally, comprehension questions are there for different literature students and other students. Application questions are that involve using one's understanding. For example, how does yoga help build concentration? Application questions are asked at the end of the topic when we discuss a subject matter, a topic. At the end of the topic, we put some questions, that is application questions. Whether it is traditional method or 5E method, generally we use 2 methods in our lesson plan. At the end of the topic, at the end of the session, at the end of the period, we ask some questions, that is application question or evaluation question, to evaluate whether our teaching is successful, or in other words, whether what we have taught to the students that is successful or not. So you see that students they spend the whole time in the classroom. They listen to the teacher period after period. They spend the whole day in the school. Here the point is that the students should understand whatever is taught to the learner. Unless and otherwise the student understand, it is fruitless to teach the learner for the whole period. The teacher's activities go in vain. So our point is that students should be encouraged to ask questions and they should think over whatever questions are asked, they should answer. Here also we can say that application questions should be asked to all the learners to understand how far the learners have understood or not. If we see that the students have not understood, that means the whole program of this classroom is not satisfied. And we may repeat this, that means the students have not understood whatever we have taught to the students. So we may repeat the lesson again, and we should see what is the problem in our teaching. We should find out the problem and solve. We ourselves should solve the problem and provide re-teaching to the learners. So application questions is important in each and every class. Just after the class, we should see what is the reaction of the students. Accordingly, we should prepare for the next class or next session or next day. Analysis questions that ask for looking at parts of a situation. For example, in what ways is a solar heater better or worse than an electric heater? This is an analysis question. There are different types of questions we are discussing. Analysis type of questions are discussed in different subjects, not only subjects in science or geography. In different subjects, the students is provided, or the students are provided to analyze the fact and express their views independently. This type of question is important for the development of the learner. So what we discuss here, language is most important to express the views of the learner. To the learner can express his ideas properly. Without proper language, without proper development of language, even if this learner has developed his thought processes, even if the student learner has learned well, he or she cannot express in words or in speech the question asked to him or her. So language is important here. These are the questions to be asked in the classroom, or tasks should be, this type of questions should be asked in home task or examination or any other situation. The teachers should see to develop the language abilities of the language skills of the learner. Evaluation questions which ask people to make judgments. For example, are large dams best answers to water and power shortages? Evaluation questions, we have already discussed that application, in the application stage, this is asked. So also there are questions to evaluate the thinking processes, the thought power of the learners. So there are different types of questions, and the teacher can ask to develop the discussion in the classroom. So again, we can say that classroom is very much important for the teacher, for the learners. The teacher should see that proper discussion is going on, proper discourse is going on between the teacher and the learners, among the learners, among the learners and the teachers of the classroom, so that students can understand the facts, understand the topic discussed in the classroom. So classroom situation should be organized properly, managed properly by the teacher. It is a pre-planned activity. The teacher should see how the interaction goes on properly, so that each and every learner participate in the interaction program, so that classroom activities can be satisfied. This is all about interaction. Then come to negotiated interaction. Here we see that the classroom interaction is negotiated by the teacher. Instead of accepting the first learner contribution, we need to push the learner to interact adequately in order to understand negotiated interaction. We now turn to the issue of talk management and topic management. We see that talk management and topic management, here types of questions are the types of questions asked, and the type of responses determined how it is controlled. The structure of information exchange determines the way in which the talk is managed. And the talk goes on in the classroom, and that should be managed. The IRF, I means initiation, R means response, and F feedback sequence is considered to be the most commonly found structure of information exchange, where I stands for initiation, R response, and F for feedback. That means the discussion should be initiated by the teacher, and a response, that means the teacher should see for proper response of the children. The children should be, the learners should be encouraged to respond properly. This is what we call, first of all, the teacher should provide a stimuli. So this is a stimulus response chain. This teacher provides a stimuli, ask a question to ignite the mind of the learners. The initiation starts, the students response, different students, they respond according to their understanding, according to their thought processes, as far they have understood. And after this, the teacher should provide feedback to the learner. Again, I am repeating the same, that this is called IRF model for talk management. Here, response of this learner is important, and accordingly, if anything more is to be discussed, if anything to be added, the feedback must be given by the teacher. Here, teacher's role is also important when giving feedback, and the learner's role is important when providing response. When the learner is providing response, we should have in our mind that we should not discourage the learner. We should not discourage the wrong answer of the learner. Rather, we should see that the learner is encouraged to answer first, whether it is right or wrong, whether it is partly right or not, that is different. But we should wholeheartedly encourage the student, affectionately encourage the students to provide response to the interaction, to the question, so that they can develop their language, they can develop their understanding the topic, subject matter, or curriculum. Then the teacher should provide proper feedback according to the response or responses of the learners. So this is important for negotiated interaction in the classroom. The teachers engage in jointly generating meaningful classroom talk. In this manner, the teacher's questions may try to elicit learner responses which are based on their own opinions and interpretations, and not facts directly taken from textbooks. Here we should see that textbooks are important, but the learner's thinking process we should try to develop. The learners, they should have their own thinking, and their own concept should be more than that of what is provided by the textbooks. It should be encouraged by the teacher. So the teacher should be prepared. He should have a proper lesson plan, what to ask, what initiative question or interactive question.
Dr. Das, we are running short of time. Please wind up within 2-3 minutes, so that we'll invite questions from the students. Okay.
Sir, thank you.
Don't explain further. Simply touch upon the important points only if there is any. If not, then please conclude.
Sir, thank you, sir. Then comes classroom interaction competence, or CIC. Teachers and learners' ability to use interaction as a tool for mediating and assisting learning. This is CIC, that is classroom interactional competencies. So the teacher should develop CIC, classroom interaction competency, that already we have discussed here. One thing is important, that the teacher should ask questions so that the participation of students, each and every student is encouraged. That is the only way to develop the learners, whether they are the backbenchers or the frontbenchers, whether it is a question for roll number 1 or last roll number, that these students should not feel that teacher is partial or teacher is liking the students, gifted students, and he has negligence for the backward children, or like that. This teacher should see that all, and here each and every child is given importance by the teacher, and he loves, he has affection, or she has affection, the teacher has affection for all the learners of the class. Here one thing is important, interaction. The student should participate in the interaction. Accordingly, the teacher should organize or manage the classroom situation. So again, I can say that teachers are the backbone of the country. Teaching is not a vocation, simply vocation. It is a profession. Teachers should find out the possibilities in the learners. Teachers should see that they prepare a lesson plan. First of all, they should see what is the aim and objectives of teaching a subject, and how that that aim can be achieved by the learner. What happens today, we just go enter this, not all, in most of the cases, we just run to the class haphazardly. We take the class and we don't think what these learners are doing. It is our point that teachers should be efficient. They should feel proud that they are the makers of the nation. They should see that each and every child develop through the curriculum. And it is very much important to say that we can't assess the curriculum. We can't have an entry to the curriculum by the child, by the learner who we are teaching, to whom we are teaching, unless we develop a standard language in the minds of the learners. So here we can sum up here in these words that language learning is important for the learner, for developing in academic aspect, and this is the purpose of education. But one thing is important, that it is not only the responsibility of this language teacher, whether a Hindi teacher or English teacher or Odia teacher or Telugu teacher, whoever is the language teacher in the school, but it is the responsibility of each and every teacher, subject teacher, whether mathematics teacher, whether geography teacher. They should see that students develop language properly, and they are effective in understanding and describing, or they analyzing, or in words or sentences depicting those ideas properly. So with this, we can stop today's discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Das. Thank you very much. Now it is time for interaction. Dear students, if you have put up questions in the chat box, we will take up. Otherwise, you can also straight away come online and ask your question. Before I give the concluding remark, you are all requested to just put up your question in the chat box. Dr. Das, please speak in very brief about the brainstorming. Give an example of brainstorming. Some student is asking. Arun Naik is asking, what is brainstorming?
Brainstorming. Okay.
Very briefly.
Okay. Brainstorming is used by the teacher, a sort of questioning, so that the student, the learner can deeply think over the question, and he will be compelled to think and answer the question accordingly. This cannot be found in any question answer book, or what happens.
Dr. Das, let me add to it. You see, it is a process of learning. Brainstorming is an effective process of learning in the higher level. You see, it is not suitable for primary level or secondary level. Normally, brainstorming, this process is used in the higher education level. It is a learning process. what is happening in case of brainstorming, one issue is left in front of all the learning members or the members of the group. Everybody attacks that particular question or that issue and come out with different types of solutions. So those are summarized by the expert or the teacher who is available there in front of them. So this is something about brainstorming. Leaving an issue in front of a group of people or group of learners, and every learner will be requested or advised to put up their brain and come out with some sort of points or some points, and the duty of the teacher is to summarize those points and give his or her expert opinion. This is what is brainstorming, I personally feel.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so Rosalind is asking about 3-language formula. Dear Rosalind,
thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Let me answer to this particular question. You see, 3-language formula was advocated by the Kothari Commission, 1964 to 66.
Already.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. This 3-language formula is that every learner is supposed to master 3 languages. What are those 3 languages? The first language is his or her mother tongue.
Yeah.
Another language is your national language, your Hindi, and the third language is the official language. Okay, our official language is English. So English, Hindi, and mother tongue. This is the 3-language formula which was prescribed or advocated by Kothari Commission. Okay. Then there is a question by Dharua, Chinmay Dharua. What is IRF structure? IRF: initiation, response, and feedback. Initiation, response, and feedback. IRF structure.
IRF structure is discussed already. Initiation by the teacher. The teacher initiates the discussion or discourse. Then response is provided by the learners. Then feedback is given by the teacher again. So this is a discourse. This is a process.
Yes. It is a simple thing, dear students. You see, when you are teaching a group of students, what do? You give academic input. That means you teach. Then some process is going on, and then you try to ask questions and get the response. That means feedback. So it is a kind of input, process, and output activity. So IRF is just like that. It is initiation. That means you initiate the discussion. Then response is given by the students, and that response is acting just like a feedback to the teacher for further discussion. So it is a triangular process: initiation, response, and feedback. Okay.
Sir, normally this goes on in the classroom daily, regularly. Yes. The teacher first initiates the questions, ask a question to the learners. This goes on intermittently throughout the class.
Okay.
Classroom is lively.
Okay. So is there any other question? Students, if you have any other question, please write in the chat box or comment line.
Hello.
You can. Yes. Smruti Rekha, please ask your question.
Hello.
Snehata Majhi, please ask your question.
Sir, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Sir, what is the academic language?
Academic language.
Okay.
Dr. Das, would you like to respond? I should respond.
Sir, academic language is the standard language used by the school. In other words, we can say that it is the school language.
Yes. Normally, dear student, as a teacher, you must be knowing that we use different language in the classroom. What kind of language? When we speak to the students, we use different kind of vocabulary. When we talk to the students, we use different types of syntax. We are careful about what we speak, isn't it? So this is academic language. We do not speak to the students the way we speak to our brothers and sisters, isn't it? Our approach totally becomes different, and that is the academic language. It is a little bit formal, I must say. It is a little bit formal in nature, and we become very cautious in using our using different words, isn't it? then different syntax, and other, that sentence structure, all these things. All these things are parts of academic language.
And here I can add
Sir,
to.
I failed to send my
Yes, yes, sir.
enrollment number send. Sir, chat box रे enrollment number send होने. Failed to send लिखुଛି.
Doesn't matter. Later on you send. No problem.
Sir, here I can, one thing I can say that
Please.
academic language is the school language. It is used by the school through the textbooks. The better the learner accepts it, develops it, then he can perform well in the examinations, in the classroom academic activities. So academic language is important. This can be developed by the teacher. So our purpose by teaching, understanding language across the curriculum, this unit is to influence the teacher to develop academic language of the learners.
That's what I am also saying. You see, academic language is a different language that normally used by the teacher. It is purely based on the curriculum. It is purely based on the curriculum. As per the demand of the curriculum, we present a particular topic in front of the students. And the way we speak, that is totally different from the way we speak to others, isn't it? The way we speak to the students is totally different from the way we speak to others. So this is what is academic language. Okay.
Sir, here we can say that it is different from home language. The learner is using some language in some other manner in the home, but academic language is purified, more purified. And
I have already replied. Dr. Das, I have already replied. In home, we talk informally. But in the classroom, we talk formally with certain rules and regulations as per the demand of the curriculum. Okay, this is all right, no problem. Students have understood.
Sir.
Okay, then any other?
Sir, namaste.
Namaskar.
I want to know, sir, how sex difference is a reason for linguistic variation.
Could you please repeat your question?
Yes, sir.
How sex difference is a reason for linguistic variation.
Sir, I understand.
Yes,
Sir, I understand the question. Sex difference is a factor for variability of language. Am I audible to you, sir?
Yes. Please go ahead.
No, sex difference is due to different factors at home and in the society. What happens at home? We neglect our daughters. We neglect the women to express their views outside. So they are limited to language. The exposure is limited. Linguistic research has shown that speech of men and women differs. In some conservative societies, what happens? Due to segregation of the sexes, this happens. But about societies, when men and women communicate freely, in the developed societies, this does not happen. And normally what we think that in some cases we see, we think that women when speaking they should be more cautious. So that means we have control over them so far as speaking is concerned. So this
you see normally in a democratic country, both men and women have got equal opportunities and equal rights. So the opinion or views of both men and women should be taken equally. But is it happening in the real practice? It is not happening. Since there is differences, since we give more importance to the words of the males, because our society is a male-dominated society, this particular problem is just seen there in the teaching learning situation also. Okay, but as far as possible, as a teacher, we should try to accept the views of both male and female, boys and girls equally, without any discrimination.
Yes. Sir, another question is about the scaffold language.
Scaffolding, I have already replied in many occasions. You see, scaffolding is nothing but providing support. Scaffolding. So,
Yes.
I had given the example of, casting your roof. How do you cast your roof? When you are casting your roof, you are first putting some iron pillars, or maybe some wooden structure. You prepare a wooden structure, and then you put, mortars and cement, and then you remove the wooden structure, and the roof got stuck to the four walls of the house, isn't it? So it is just like
Yes.
that. When somebody is not confident upon his abilities, what do the teachers do? The teachers normally provide support, isn't it? So after
Yes.
providing support, and when they feel that the student is able to understand the subject by himself or herself, or will be able to perform the duty independently, then they withdraw themselves, isn't it?
Yes.
So this is what is scaffolding.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So any other question?
Sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sir, in our assignment, there is a question to prepare a vocabulary specific lesson plan other than
Okay.
English.
Hmm.
Is it refers to Odia language or Hindi language?
You see, it is purely based on your content-based methodology. These two papers we have not discussed so far. After the core courses, we will go to the content-based methodology. That means Hindi, English, social studies, science, mathematics, all these subjects will be
Sir,
deliberating on. So this is
sir,
purely based on your method of teaching. Okay. So
sir,
please go.
this is the assignment of BES-124.
1 to 4.
Yes.
Okay. What is the question?
Sir, there is a question to prepare a vocabulary specific lesson plan other than English.
Vocabulary specific lesson plan other than English. That means in your mother tongue you can prepare.
Sir,
Since you belong to
if
Odisha, you are well conversant with Odia, because they are referring to language. Today we are discussing about the language, isn't it? Language across the curriculum. So since they are referring to language, and you are well conversant with Odia language, you prepare a lesson plan
sir,
in Odia. It may be geography, history, or anything, but it should be in Odia language.
Sir, if it is Odia, then have we to write the answer in Odia language or other than?
Dr. Das, can you answer to this particular problem of the student?
Sir, I can say that they are teaching in some schools, maybe English medium school or Odia medium school. If they are teaching, their school is Odia medium school, then they should write in Odia. If it is English medium school, then they should opt for English.
Sir, it assignment question.
As per the teaching subject.
Sir, it is a assignment question. Then we have to submit in Odia or English. Our medium is English language, so I asked it.
What is your school? What is the medium of your school?
Say Odia medium school.
So, as sir has told, you should answer in Odia. That question, particular
Sir,
question.
sir, we have.
Listen, dear student, listen.
Yes,
That question is asking to prepare a lesson plan, and through the
sir.
lesson plan, the evaluator will assess how much mastery you have over the language, isn't it? Since this
Okay.
particular subject BES-124 is based on language across curriculum, so your language will be assessed. Okay, so that way you do prepare a lesson plan in the language in which you are well conversant, and put it up for evaluation.
Sir,
Okay, if you want,
it is
listen,
convenient.
if you want further clarification, let the lockdown be over. When you'll be going to your study center, you discuss the matter with the respective counselors or the coordinator, because they are subject experts. They can also advise you. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any other question? Any other question? If there is any.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
What is, sir, gender sensitization?
This is a very simple question.
Sir,
What do you mean by gender? Isn't it? It refers to male, female, isn't it?
sir,
Since there is gender disparity, so it should be brought to the equal platform. You see, just I was telling this thing little bit, little before, that both male and female, both gender, people of both the gender should be given equal opportunities in every sphere of life, not only in the field of
sir,
education, in agriculture, and it is seen in a democratic setup. In our country, it is
sir,
seen. Even there are ladies, those who are holding very high positions in defense services. There are ladies who are flying, even fighter aircrafts, isn't it? So, but still there are people, those who differentiate between male and female, because if you go to remote area, rural areas, still the gender disparity is there. They are not aware of the equality of both the gender, isn't it?
sir,
People of both the genders are equal. So this is gender awareness. Okay.
sir, sir,
And as a teacher also, we should try to advise the young, we should try to put in the minds of the young children that both male and female are equal. We all are standing equally. Our footings are equal. Girls are not in any way inferior than boys, or boys are in no way inferior than girls. Everybody is equal. So this kind of information we must have to put in the minds of the young children from the very beginning. Otherwise, this kind of disparity will be there, and discrimination will occur when they will grow up. Okay.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other question? Can we use tribal language in classroom to bring tribal students to mainstream? Tapan Kumar Sahu. You see, tribal is not a language. In tribal areas, different dialects are spoken. Our language is our regional language is Odia. Since we all belong to Odisha region, our regional language is Odia. And Odia is the mother language. From Odia, different dialects have been created. For example, if you go to Mayurbhanj, different dialects are spoken. If you go to Sambalpur, different dialect is spoken. If you go to Barampur, their speaking style is different. If you go to Koraput, there are so many. Santali Bhasha apna paibe. So many small dialects are spoken by the people of different localities. You see, when you are teaching the students of those localities in the initial stage, it is better to address their issues in their regional language, in those dialects. But when they grow up, you have to bring them to the mainstream, that is Odia language, because Odia language through which our instructional process is going on, isn't it? In the primary level, I'm talking of, that should be strengthened. That should be properly, developed in the minds of those students, those who belong to tribal areas. Otherwise, tribal language, there is nothing called tribal language. There may be many dialects in the tribal regions, isn't it?
Sir, here I can add to this answer.
Yes.
I can say that in tribal areas, they are neglected students. The teacher should know the dialect. Can use at times for only interaction and to encourage the learners to take a participation in the discussion. But what he says, he can't use the dialect of the learner. At times he can use just for interaction. Better understand.
Yes, that is absolutely correct. If the teacher knows the dialect, then please address the issues of those children who are well conversant with those dialects in their respective dialect only, and gradually try to make them understand the main language, that is Odia. Because in any case they are going to take the examination in Odia. Examination will not be conducted in their dialects, isn't it? So if they are not well acquainted with their regional language, that is mother tongue, Odia, then they will be faltering in their examination. So no doubt address the issues of the students, tribal students in their dialects, but gradually put them on the mainstream.
Sir, the purpose of this language across the curriculum is to develop standard language, the academic language. Not
Exactly.
Sir, another question is, what is the difference between interaction and negotiated interaction?
Interaction and negotiated interaction.
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Das, please tell, you are talking about negotiated interaction towards the end.
Here one thing happens that the subject is negotiated in the total is interaction process. The subject is the subject or topic is negotiated. That means it is controlled by the teacher. The topic, talk management, and another is the topic management. The topic means linguistic competency and opportunities for negotiating meaning. These are managed by the teacher. But the main thing is this, that talking by the students or responses are controlled by the teacher. Here what happens, sir, in the classroom, IRF goes on, initiation, response and feedback. Here the students, they are not left free to discuss and go on as they like. It is controlled by the teacher. The discussion is
Okay.
by the teacher.
You see, normally negotiated interaction helps the teacher to break the IRF pattern, isn't it? That in initiation, response, and feedback pattern, as teachers engage in jointly generating meaningful classroom talk. Okay, so this is there in your study material. This is very much available in your study material. So student, please, you see, interaction is nothing but exchange of views or sharing of ideas between two or more than two people, isn't it? Interaction, when you interact. So a teacher interacts with the whole class, or a friend interacts with his own friend. So this is interaction. When you are communicating to somebody intensely, that is interaction. But negotiated interaction means with some purpose, isn't it? Negotiated interaction, that means with the consent of both the group, both the person, those who is in the teaching end, and the person, those who are in the learning end. When some sort of arrangement is taking place and interaction takes place, that is negotiated. Generally speaking, I have not gone to the study material, generally speaking. So it is more formal. It is more formal than any other interaction.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
The students are guided as per the topic. They
Yes.
go out of the topic.
Yes.
Interaction is concerned. So also they can talk about the topic. It is managed by the teacher. Okay, sir.
Any other question? I think there is no more questions, so it is time for sum up. Dear students, we had a long session today of 2 hours, more than 2 hours, of course, and complete
say something?
discussion took place about the importance of mother tongue.
Can I say something?
Yes,
Sir, can I say something?
yes, please, quick. Please be
Sir,
quick. It is already.
Sir, we are very much lucky because even if the time is over, still then you are discussing about our questions. That is why we are very much lucky. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you. You see, our purpose is to satisfy each and every learner, because
Sir. Even
learners
if the time is now 4:17, still then you are discussing our questions about our doubts. Thank you, sir, very much.
though I am not the subject expert, still I am trying to learn from all of you and trying to learn from the counselor and trying to give also something to my students. Being
Sir,
the
sir.
general director, you see, sitting all along for 5 hours daily. I am sitting here in this platform in the morning
Sir,
minimum.
that is why we are very much lucky. Sir, that is why we are very much lucky.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your good feedback. So we shall
Sir.
continue to provide this kind of support to all of you, and we'll definitely see to it that all your learning needs are satisfied in whatever way it is possible. Okay. So since we have come to the end of the sessions, let me speak a few words before concluding. You see, our country is a diverse country, and the people of our country speak so many languages, and there are so many dialects. And because of this diversity, the curriculum, you cannot find a singular unitary curriculum throughout the country. In Odisha, we are practicing different curriculum. If you go to Tamil Nadu, there is a different curriculum. So curriculums are based on a particular culture, isn't it? Or particular region, keeping in view the ideologies, the etiquette, the manners, isn't it? Everything of the people of that particular region. So since mother tongue has, or language, I'm not talking only mother tongue, since language has greater impact in understanding the subject of the child, subject of the children, therefore maximum emphasis has been put there in the curriculum itself in mastering language. Because language, all of you know, is the vehicle of communication. You may be a talented person, but if you are not well conversant with a particular language, if you are not able to express, then your talent will remain unnoticed, isn't it? For example, in the ocean, there are pearls. There are tons of pearls and so many precious metals lying in the ocean. Unless and until they are brought out, they are unnoticed, isn't it? Similarly, if you are a talented person, and if you are not sound in language, that means your talent will remain hidden. It will not be exposed to others, and you will not be recognized as a potential individual. Therefore, language development is a must in case of every child whom you are dealing with. And as a teacher, not only you yourself develop linguistically, you also see that all your children, all your learners develop in the same fashion, isn't it? And therefore, what you are supposed to do, you have to create conditions. You have to create conditions, different vocabularies, speaking platform, isn't it? Language platform where they can speak and explore ideas and views, isn't it? And pick up things. So that way they can develop, and so many instructions, so many procedures are there for development of language. And in this particular block 1 and block 2, both in this particular course, all these deliberations are made by different experts. Please go through them and try to understand. And you see, our skills in mother tongue is transferable. For example, you see, if you have very good learning habit in Odia, definitely the same learning habit can be transferred to reading English, isn't it? So if mother tongue, skill mastered through mother tongue can be transferred to other languages also, isn't it? So that is very much there, and that skill you must have to understand. Then you see, in language, 3 things are very important: listening, speaking, and fluency. If you want to master language, first of all, you have to be a very good listener. Keen listening, not superfluously. For example, Dr. Das is speaking today. If you are listening very keenly, you can master not only the subject but also the language. If you listen to me very keenly, not superfluously, then at least you can master what I am speaking on the subject, and at the same time what kind of language I use, whether I am talking to you in a wrong language or if in a positive language. If it is in a positive language, you can imbibe that practice, and that way you can develop yourself linguistically. So listening is very important, and at the same time speaking. You see, a teacher is supposed to be a very good speaker, isn't it? If you know the art of speaking, everybody cannot speak. Even if a person is intelligent, or he has tremendous amount of IQ, but then if he doesn't have speaking ability, he cannot speak in the open forum. Therefore, a teacher is supposed to be a good orator. Speaking ability you must have to develop in yourself, and you must have to also help others to develop this speaking ability. As a teacher, you must have to imbibe this quality among your children. Then you see, there are so many about registers also. Dr. Das spoke, isn't it? Oral register, written register, so many things. Registers are nothing but the ways of speaking. What I mastered from today's teaching, registers are nothing but ways of speaking differently. So that quality also you must have to imbibe. And lastly, Dr. Das spoke about the academic language, and some students also asked questions about academic language. So please understand what is the difference between academic language and the language that we use normally in the at home or at marketplace or at some other place. And accordingly, groom yourself, and try to use those language for effective teaching. So these are some of the things we learned. And also, 2-3 important terms used, like echo means repetition. When something is not properly understood, you have to repeat, isn't it? Then error correction was also there, isn't it? So all these things are supposed to be mastered by every practicing teachers. That means the students of BF like you. And this is these are very important in teaching learning situation. We are very much thankful to Dr. Das, who in spite of adverse conditions, because now cyclone is going on everywhere. There is raining in the coastal region, of course, not everywhere. In the coastal region it is raining, and also it is windy outside. But in spite of that, he is sitting and he is presenting his talk in front of you. So I am very much thankful to you, sir. And I'm also thanking all the learners who participated in today's presentation and asked different questions. Of course, there are some students who listened to the presentation made by both of us very patiently. Though they have not asked questions, they're also very important. So thank you very much. Tomorrow, exactly 2 p.m., we will be again online in the same class, and Dr. Das will complete block 2. Thank you very much, and wish you a very happy day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks both of you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks both of you, sir.